Okay.
You're live. To you from
Just goes
Tennessee.
right across the screen there.
Take it away, BA.
Okay. Make sure I don't have any food in my beard.
Or bugs.
Someone asked me, "What do you put in your beard, man?" Food. That's all it goes in it. All right.
I testify to that.
Welcome back to SOS. I'm BA,
Zippy.
and tonight, bum bum bum.
We got Dwarfy Boy, Moko, William. Come on, people, start talking so I can shut
Move my
up
stuff
all
around
names.
while you read some names.
Oh, now we're going fast.
Oh, it's going too fast.
It's going too fast.
Oh.
Kidnir, Emitiga. I can't pronounce.
Oh.
I can't really see little over pronounce. Hey, half crazy. Hey, Steve and Jessica and Texan. Hope you're doing good. Half crazy.
Daniel was on there too.
Daniel,
I
Keith, Derek, D-Day, Ted, and all you fine shy typers out there. Hello.
Well, it's still going. There, I can
see
see 103.
Josh, yep. And there's Daniel,
Craig. All right. Where was I going? I had this
fan of the red hand.
I've got some interesting
Steven Brian
stuff to talk about tonight. I think a lot of you out there
chickens are good.
Could use a sensible dose.
Joe.
Maybe just just common sense approach to things. And
Nicholas Ohio.
I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and I think I can put in some kind of perspective of things when it comes to groups and organization, where to next, and look at what's happening, kind of thing. Bandit, knock it off. You got to yell at the dog in your video. It's just not a video unless you yell at your dog. All right.
Thank you, Jay.
Jay. Dang it.
Forgot the stuff again.
I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Boom.
Hope you are surviving LA.
Thank you. Thank you very
Honestly,
much.
I hope you're handling it okay. It's crazy. Hey, Nicholas. Thank you.
The first thing that I'm going to do tonight, though, I think we'll go over some life hacks, some survival hacks. I know a few of you have seen me do random videos on life hacks, and I figured I would put them together while we're in a chat, and you guys can talk about that kind of on the side and spread the info of other hacks. Bandit, will you talk to your dog?
Just let him do his thing.
No, he's not doing his thing. And your cat wants to jump in here now.
It's just call the wild.
It's call the wild. Okay.
Next, the chickens are gonna fly up here.
So I know a lot of you probably already know some of these, but I figured it would be a good idea to share some kind of a refresher and the why and stuff. So I'm just laying my stuff out here just so I can kind of do it in a live. You guys are live and in front of me, and it's kind of like that, right? I gotta get all this stuff out of this little container. It's not much though.
Yeah, that used to be my banana bread pan until somebody just jacked it.
I jacked it a long time ago.
And you were saying you were gonna find something and destroy it of mine, and here. I guess now we're even because you did.
Hang on a sec. I gotta grab one thing.
You destroyed my banana bread pan.
Well, it's all right. Your banana bread pan is still with us. It's just being used for something else. Okay. I'm back. Here we go. So, I think the first thing I want to do, I'll talk about some of the other ones along the way, and then we'll get into some group discussions and stuff. I'm going to need an assistant.
I got a coffee in my hand. So.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to have to do it airborne.
Just kidding.
It's all right. I just need you to hold the pan. You can hold the pan, and if it gets hot and burns somebody, it's you, not me. All right. Okay.
I'll face it towards you in your beard.
Okay. Coffee creamer. Okay. Coffee creamer. I did a video about this, but coffee creamer, anything starchy is it's flammable, and you can use it to start a fire. You can sprinkle it in with some type of not not fire starter, but fire tender. So if you have fire tender, say cotton ball or something like that, right? All right, you got that? Okay. I'll let you hold it. Don't get too close. Oh, hang on.
You smothered it.
I don't have very much left. You used it all.
Why don't you sprinkle it with your hand?
My fingers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me get it open. Someone's going to say, I'm bored already. I'm bored, BA. You're not bored, are you? Don't be bored. I'm trying to make this fun. All right. Thought it'd be better than just talking the whole time. I do have a topic, by the way. All right.
Would you like me to sprinkle it?
Can you hold that? You hold this. All right. Up there. And bring that back.
Okay, fumbles.
I know. It's easier when I'm not doing this. All right. There it goes.
It's a little chunky.
Yeah, you see it? You can see it's... There it goes. Yeah, you can kind of get the point. It's making little waves. But if you do a big dash, it'll go baboosh. Baboosh. You have a decent flame. I think it works better. The other thing that it's weird, but once you're done, it smells like marshmallows.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like roasted marshmallows over a fire.
I guess it's better than burning your hair.
Okay, let me get this out of the pan so it doesn't ignite.
I'm not putting that back in there.
No, there's
coffee,
there's nothing left. Look, folks, there's hardly anything left in there. Look, they're witnesses. They know. All right, I didn't put
sugar burns.
I'm throwing.
That's funny.
Yeah, sugar burns, starch.
Okay.
You can. I was gonna bring up some of the plumber stuff that I have, but you can. It's potassium, whatchamacallit. I can't remember the full name of it, but I did a video about that, but YouTube took it down. It was, I guess because I was mixing chemicals, but you mix that with antifreeze and it just boom. It's crazy. You take one little scoop of that, splash it into some antifreeze, and it goes bloosh.
With a hint of sawdust.
The other thing that's it's kind of like it's just crazy like napalm, man. It just starts spraying all over the place. And then there's the other one. It was sugar. You can just add sugar to that potassium permanganate. Is it permanganate? Potassium permanganate or something like that? Yeah, I think I got it right. Okay, thanks, Ted. Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, I was like, potassium permanganate. I couldn't remember the whole thing. But I did the video about it, and YouTube took it down, and because I just went straight to the topic. I just went straight to it, and just like, all right, here you go, antifreeze. Add this, boom, and then the other one was sugar, but you've got to crush it, and you just got to get something to crush it in there. All right, next up, here's one that I'll need you to hold the pan again. If you, I'm gonna burn my fingers. Do you want me to burn
Do you
my
even
fingers?
have feeling in your fingers?
Not really.
You're
Here,
such a callous.
you hold the pan.
person.
I'd hold it like that. You do that like that. There you go. Okay, they can see. Okay. Anyways, the next one. I thought this would be fun. All right.
Next, magician's trick.
All right. The guitar pick, right? And this is just a regular guitar pick. And the materials that it's
Wesses.
materials that it's
The Wesses. Hello.
the Wesses. I got to make sure. I'm gonna do it like this. Let's see. See, I'm gonna put it like this. Ferro rod, nothing special. Look, no magic trick there. Just
He glazed it.
I didn't glaze it with anything.
Oh, sorry. It's supposed to cut underneath.
Woman, stop moving around.
You gotta A little fire on your leg there.
No, I don't.
A little bit smoky. And there you go.
A little bit easier to do it. Here we go. I'm gonna stand up and do it.
Stand up and take a bow.
It's the angle. I'm gonna shave it open. I'm gonna get that coating off. There we go. Oop, it went.
Really catching anything yet. Woo!
I had it.
Well, you got a lot out.
All right. Well, anyways.
I think you accomplished.
Okay.
Mission.
Just to the point.
Rock on, man.
Anyway, just to the point. I'm not even going to waste any more time trying to do it with the ferro rod. All right, but it's in front of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, it still has a lot left. You can still play the guitar with that, sort of.
Yes, Jay. I got Vaseline very close by.
You stop it. Y'all knock it off. All right.
Burns, man.
You hold that for a sec. All right. Here's one that
start charging you.
Here's one that everybody knows.
$10 per hold.
Everybody knows this one.
I don't.
This is steel wool. Steel wool and steel wool.
Real steel. Oh.
And you can put something with that and have yourself a little fire.
Have yourself a merry little fire.
Get it off my finger before it burns me. There's that one. Here's one.
Steel allows.
The sucker. I'll get to the point of all this eventually. Just sucker. Your wrapper. You want a sucker?
No.
Okay.
Your coldness will be miles away.
I'm just going to fold this. And I fold it over this guy. And
You're not a little too close to my face.
well, you don't look.
Here, you're launching it pretty far.
Well, now you
Hold
just
it
keep.
over here.
I'm trying to like aim at this thing. You're like.
Well, you're launching
I
it.
feel like I'm playing a game of like catch the pan.
Catch the spark.
Will you stop moving?
Well, you got to raise it up and not view the camera. So, we're just lighting fires here. Starting fires. Making fires. That's a little too close to my feet.
There it goes. It was going.
It's a good thing there's not a smoke detector close by.
Oh, you're all right. Will you stop it? It's entertainment. Who else is going to do
Until
this?
someone loses an eyeball. In the misty mountains. The homeowners insurance aren't watching this. Oh, you're funny, C103. Yeah, they better be zoned. I love it.
There
It's
it goes.
like fireworks.
Oh, it took effort. But the point is, I showed you. All right. You saw how difficult that was.
That is really pretty. It's like a sparkler.
Yeah. Here, let me get. There we go.
Yes, make more smoke. That's cool. It's like the.
What? Will you stop it?
Off.
All right. What's next? Now, the other interesting things, and I've showed this one before. You're best off if you're going to do a little 8-hour candle or something. You're going to have to.
Can't have nice things.
You're going to have to break some of it off. You'll see folks trying to get the candle to work
The tip.
as, yeah, you got to take the tip off. you'll see folks trying to get one of these things to work as a regular candle just by lighting the whole thing, and it doesn't work like that. You have to tear some off, and then you just hold.
Crayons are for eating. That's right.
Like that, and this thing will burn all the way until the paper's gone. And you could just set it up in something and leave it there, and you've got light.
So when Marines go to a concert, y'all light your crayons instead of holding up your lighters.
That's right. Smarty britches.
Mm-hmm.
More smoke for you. There we go. Okay. That was the candle. Set that there. Now, what was the other one I had over here? Oh, now I didn't have a bubblegum wrapper. This is the funny thing. Okay, so I don't have a bubblegum wrapper, but I have a piece of aluminum foil. Now you could use this in conjunction with a AA battery to make something light up. The thing is it gets really hot, but straight aluminum foil, it's not going to pop in two. It'll literally stay a piece of aluminum foil, and you could light cotton with it. A piece of cotton over here. I'm just doing a demonstration of this one. The cotton, you could use cotton in conjunction with that, but what would probably work better is, what did I do with that? Well, I had a bread tie, but I lost it. I went all night trying to find a bread tie.
It's on the floor by your foot.
Okay. So you could take a bread tie and carve off the ends of it and use it like that. With this, what it would do.
So we light cigarettes in prison. Oh my goodness.
You'll have to take off the edges of your bread tie. Now, what's funny is
that seems like the most work.
No, the thing is, it's kind of iffy. It's real iffy that if it's going to work or not, because I've had situations where it doesn't work. And what works better is copper wire. And that's why I like having that Titan survival cord in my pocket all the time. This one will get, see, it's getting hot.
Yeah, I need to set up a
It's getting hot and it's smoking, but
it is. I don't see it smoking.
Mm-hmm, it did. It's smoking.
Where are you seeing the smoke?
It's hot. It was smoking.
Oh, I'm sure it feels hot, but I couldn't see
No, I swear it was smoking. I'm not kidding. All right, I'll take a little bit more off.
Don't go like a fart.
Hey, it's good to learn stuff.
It is good.
Some people probably already know this stuff. Some people don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The ones who don't know these little goofball things, then just stick around, you know? All right, so usually you just use a bubblegum wrapper, an aluminum one. Woo, it's getting hot. That's too hot to hold. Yep, I'm done. All right, so you would take like something to clamp this and hold it in place, or push it up against something so you're not using both your fingers. Something thinner. It has to be really thin in order for it to work. And the reason why the bubblegum wrapper works so well is because it already has paper on it. And if you already have paper on it, you have a super thin piece of aluminum foil, then it's going to work better. So the bubblegum wrapper works better, but you still have to cut the bubblegum wrapper. You can't just, I don't have a bubblegum wrapper, so sorry about that one. That goes back to the other things that I don't have around the house. All these different types of little life hacks that are on the books, and I think, well, I don't own one of those. I don't carry any of those in my home. It's like when someone says, well, the next step is to take a toothpick and use a toothpick with a blue bonnet butter. I know it's blue bonnet. It's butter, a stick of butter, right? Take a stick of butter, okay, and toilet paper. Will you stop it? I heard that sigh. I'm wasting toilet paper right now. Here's something.
It's like sacrilege now.
Would you stop it? Anyways, you take this and you roll it up like this. Right, everybody's trying to wait for it. You don't even have to use the whole thing. Take some of it off. And you could do this with chapstick, Vaseline, but this works pretty good. Take the top.
I was telling him to use a shoelace, but then he made a good point. You can use shoelaces for...
You could use shoelaces for cordage.
More important things.
More important things. That's why you don't want to go using your shoelace for stuff like this when you could use something else that's not used for very many things. Like this, use sticker butter. Now, someone said the next step was to take was to take a toothpick, right? But I don't have a toothpick.
Yeah, you notice he's not using real butter because I would be poking his eye out right now how expensive butter is.
Yeah, she won't allow that. All right, we'll roll it again. It's just ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Just some ideas.
Food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
Fire to burn.
But like I said, I don't have a toothpick. But I had this weird thing. And all right, that worked.
I mean, you can reuse the butter, right? Just stick it in a plate.
There's your 24-hour candle. And, whoa. I know, right? Where's that 24-hour candle? Here's your 24-hour candle.
I guess it depends on the toilet paper brand.
Oh, this better not be one of those cases. I will lose it.
That's why I said shoelace. I'm like, well, what if you come to a shoe store? There's a bunch of shoes everywhere. I don't know.
Well, it needs fuel.
Going down, babe.
Nah, don't tell me that.
Oh, it's burning out.
Don't tell me that.
Flame is lost forever.
Woman, don't. It hasn't yet.
It's gone.
You jinxed me.
Just accept the fate.
Hang on. It ain't done. It needs fuel.
Hey, Smolo.
It needs fuel. Has anyone said anything I'm doing wrong? I'm waiting for someone out there to be like, you're doing that wrong. It's cheap toilet paper. You need cheap toilet paper. That's probably not cheap toilet paper.
I think the toilet paper is too fluffy.
Think so?
Yep.
Babe, I ruined your stick of butter. You still love me, right?
Yeah, I do. The special you have always.
Okay, I won't give up. I'll be right back. I know where some cheap toilet paper is.
You're only going through one stick of butter.
I'm using the same stick of butter, you turkey.
Yep.
Don't start with me.
I just can't.
Don't you start.
I can't.
Okay. Cheap stuff. We're doing cheap stuff. We got this. And then we'll get to the topic. Smear it on. I guess I should have put it on better. Maybe that would have helped.
I don't know.
Try it.
What about the paper towel?
Paper towel would probably work. Depends on what brand though, because the more expensive you get, the more they start adding crazy stuff to it. All right.
Thanks, Keith.
I'm doing it again.
All right, let's see.
I'm not giving up. I'm gonna try it one more time, and I'm gonna be kicking myself if it didn't work. I think I'm out of luck, bro.
Put that foot out.
I think I'm just gonna go ahead and here in a minute, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna debunk this thing. But I'm gonna recommend something else as a wick.
Shoelace.
You don't use shoelaces.
Shoelace.
I have a point to all this.
Yeah, my point is a shoelace.
Will you stop it? So I know you can light the paper. I think I'm out of luck, bro. All right. Well, I tried. All right. So there's a point to all this.
A for effort. The
That's-
Roman candle.
That's good. All right. So there's a point to all this.
Yeah,
Now,
just roll your beard hair up into a
We-
lock.
hang on,
That's
man.
what they were saying.
Okay. I just want to. I want to explain.
Okay.
The butter trick I've never tried before. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. That was the one that I saved for last because I was still kind of skeptical on if it was even was going to work or not. Chris, there you go, lard. That was the one that I was skeptical on. I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I wanted to try it anyways. Now, if I take everyone's word for it, right? What are you doing?
You can do your earwax.
Did you always do this to me right when I'm on?
Sorry.
Then you'll start picking my nose.
You had a big chunk of earwax.
It's like, babe, you know you have nose hair? Let me get that for you. But the thing is, if I take someone else's word for it, if all these folks out there that will tell me if I do this or if I do that, it's going to work. And do you know that's going to work? Do you know it's going to
Band of the red hand. Money.
Big money.
Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate you.
Always puts for something like. I remember the booby trap one when I was doing the booby trap in the yard. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was the trip bow.
Thank you.
Where you trip on the wire. The wire had to run. Someone gave me so much flack for having to run the wire this direction, this direction, this direction. But there was a point. There was a point because you had to get the wire, the line behind the person tripping over the wire. But yeah, he donated so I could do the booby trap, the PVC pipe bow booby trap.
I remember that was a long time ago.
That thing was epic though.
It was
freaking deadly, man. That thing was deadly. It popped that target pretty good. I mean, it's at least 40 pounds.
You still have that on your playlist?
Yeah, it's still in the playlist. It's
there
in the.
Go. You should check that out.
I think it's in the primitive weapons playlist. If you guys check the playlist, I'm editing the playlist right now. I added a homesteading playlist. I added a chickens playlist.
Bread pan.
And I think it's in the primitive weapons playlist where I do the atlatl and all that stuff. Atlatls are coming back. I'll give you guys a quick rundown.
Why is it in the Olympics now?
No, it's been requested. Christy, I don't know if she's in the room or not, but Christy requested atlatls again, and so I'm going to do homemade atlatl darts and atlatl and all that stuff. I said I would do it before. I'm going to do some bow drill stuff and some other things. It's just because this is the point of all this is that you have to try it. You have to try this stuff. I didn't know the butter thing was going to work. I was just basing everything so confident. I had a little confidence that it might work, and then I had that little bit of doubt that it probably wouldn't. But I've tried all this crazy stuff. I'll take it and I'll literally see, will that actually work? That's awful. I would never do that. And at least I know for myself that it would work, or I know for myself that it's a complete failure. And then when someone tells me just use this and it works, remember, babe, remember dryer lint?
Yes, I know, Chris.
Remember dryer lint?
Yeah.
Dryer lint. Remember all the requests? I had umpteen million requests for dryer lint
was
fires.
The hot commodity.
Everyone wanted the dryer lint, but
ago.
here is the thing: dryer lint's not cotton anymore.
Bye, Chris.
Dryer lint's not cotton anymore, though.
Yeah.
It's
like
it depends on what kind of clothes you wash. If you go to like a Navy vessel somewhere and get the lint from that, it's probably mostly cotton from like white t-shirts and things like that. But most of that dryer lint's synthetic material and it won't light up the same. So you're ending up in these situations where you try, and you're like, dang, what's wrong with this stuff? And then you wash your laundry and it's nothing but cotton, and you go, whoa, it works now. So it's got to be cotton. And you can mix that with other stuff, but it's really strong in chemicals. It's awful. It's like it's like burning pressure treated lumber. It's awful.
Mm.
The chemicals
It's
knock
like
you
welding galvanized.
down. Oh,
Galvanized
there's
metal.
see, I have I have a Rolodex of not so useful knowledge. Like I can't. It's not survival related topics. It's not anything that I can just get on and start doing a little discussion about. Where um, I was she was kind of basing it off of a survival scenario and having to rebuild society, and we were in this discussion, about welding because she's noticed I've done a lot of welding lately and remembers all the welding I did before, and she had suggested, well, you could probably use stuff like that, and she's just kind of pointing out some stuff as we're going down the road, and I said you can't use that because it's galvanized. You can't just weld that stuff. And if you've got like a full scuba kit and you're welding that stuff, sure. But I that stuff's horrible. You can't just weld that stuff. And I had a buddy come to my house, and he wanted to work on I, I think he had some kind of off-road crawler. He had a like an S10 crawler, and he had transformed it, and it was just for rock crawling. That's all it does. And he needed to use some of my equipment to get some of his stuff done. He goes in the back and starts he's never really welded before, and he goes back there and starts grabbing through my sheets of steel, and he pulls this one sheet out. It's perfect square sheet. He could make some kind of plate or something for it, right? He grabs this thing and pulls it out. I walked away, man. I went inside, and I was like, surely he'll be all right in there. He can handle that. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I come back out there, and that fool is welding in a closed environment, galvanized. Man, he looked like he'd seen a ghost or so. He's already starting to turn pale and had that kind of look to him. I'm like, dude, we need to get you some water. Come inside and sit down. You are not supposed to weld galvanized. But you got it. Back to the main point of stuff is trying stuff and learning stuff and knowing it, and that's what matters the most is that stuff. But I'd like to bring more of that stuff as I keep moving along, trying it. If it doesn't work for me, it might work for somebody else. They just have that technique down. What was the other? I wrote my list down here of stuff to discuss. And what time is it?
Okay. You got plenty of time.
Well, I was gonna read from my notes, but I want to cover some things here. Okay. I guess one of the things that I would like to discuss real quick before I roll into group discussions that are important. These are important, and I think they are. I think they're very important. And another side note of this is groups and situational awareness too. But first is the first one that I wanted to talk about is something from a topic that I heard a while back, and it was, I don't know, a few days ago maybe. And I don't want anyone out there to think this way, but I have no control over the way people think. And it's like when it comes to survivalists or preppers, we get into, it kind of sounds like veteran privileged or something. It just sounds awful. And that's because a lot of veterans run YouTube channels, and a lot of veterans talk survival stuff, okay? And I don't want it to sound like that ever. That's just something that's kind of been on my mind. But I have coached folks before. I've told all of y'all I've told this to. That's, if not all veterans are what top of the line whatevers, okay? we're not all perfect, and I think too many people paint this picture of how we are or who we are, right? I think too many people paint that picture, and they make it more difficult and challenging.
Stereotype.
Stereotypes. I think they make it too difficult and challenging for a lot of folks out there. We are supposed to, it's like, well, you should have known, you know what I mean? It's not really like that. I think
Speedos.
I, it just, I don't know. People paint these crazy pictures. I don't really want people to think that of too many folks out there. And I think well, like I've said before, is that if you're starting a group, if you're starting a preparedness group, a MAG, a mutual assistance group, or something like that, all right? If you're starting something like that, grab a couple of vets along the way. If you yeah, I get, I don't know, I don't know, Daniel. I I just want to point that out because I think too many people look too far into that, and it's like, well, he's a veteran and blah blah. It's like, anyone can if they. It's just like I was doing just now, right? And this leads into the point I kind of do the bouncy ball thing, right? I'm showing you those little things, right? They don't teach that stuff in the military, right? It's just survival crap. It's what using some life hacks, and very seldom, unless you're doing like Cobra Gold or something like that, and in environments like that, the training scenarios are a little bit different. You actually get to learn more about traps and eating things and drinking snake blood and things like that. You get to do more things like that, but not everyone's going to get exposed to that stuff unless you're taking a SEER course. You're not going to get exposed to a lot of that stuff, and some of it's going to be you're going to have to read about it just like everybody else. You're going to have to put on a class just like anybody else would. So it kind of goes with that. But like I've said before, if you're starting a group or something, grab a couple of vets along the way. You know what I mean? It's helpful. The tiny little bits of here and there spurts of randomness that come back to us along the way definitely helps out in weird scenarios. I mean, it could be anything from getting your kids ready for school or just working on the car. It could be something like that, or it could be situations where society has collapsed. And real quick, I'll get to my point.
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Now, all these different scenarios, we talk about economic collapse, we talk about EMP, we talk about all these different things, and then all the times that we've talked about pandemics. And I know I've probably done enough pandemic live streams long time back before it was cool, I guess. But all the talks where I explain what the world would look like and what's going to happen first. And it's going to be a slow trickle down, choking down on society. How slow it would be. And how slow you would realize that folks are going hungry, how slow you would realize, like, well, people are really out of work, or either you're with me on this topic or you're not. You know what I mean? What happens after so much time? And
Where's the beef?
Yeah, where's the beef? And
Remember we were talking about that?
We go to the grocery store. Yeah, we said, "Where's the beef?" We're talking about. Well, you could say, "Where's the beef?" podcast.
Well, like the grocery store, we know those big packs of meat aren't there anymore.
They had lamb. They had ground lamb.
Yes.
They had ground bear.
Yes, that was.
They had ground turkey.
Yeah.
But the ground beef was
very
$10 for
little cute. And it said grass fed.
Grass fed
beef.
Organic.
And I was thinking, well, that reminds me of that World War II poster where they had people do rations.
Don't waste.
Well, no, it went by size of human, adults and children, and how many pounds they could have per week,
No.
because all the rations had to go towards the soldiers. And I was thinking, well, if they're saying we're having meat shortages, where's the meat really going to? Our secret war that we're probably having, and they're not sharing. It's going to all
We,
of our military people.
me and
That's
her,
my crazy conspiracy theory.
me and her, like 2 weeks ago, were talking about the secret war and crazy stuff, and just being silly, you know. Like, it got me thinking the long haul of things, and it got me thinking about um the other topic on this real quick. Now, don't think for any reason, okay? I know there's a lot of folks out there that feel uncomfortable with sharing their world with others. Sippy and I, we it's just us, right? It's just us. We we don't have a we don't have a homestead with folks that can help us, and we don't have a a place where we've got someone that when things get really bad and things starts to flip upside down on us, we don't have someone that can help us double check the perimeter. We don't have someone that can stand guard and and uh, and walk throughout the night and keep their eye out. We don't have that kind of thing. And I would, it's like I was telling my neighbors today, because I went out and they're tightening up their barbed wire fence, and they're getting ready to move cattle, and all the stuff going on right now, and we were all huddled around. There was about 10 of us out there just having this conversation about the situation, and cattle being put down and pigs being slaughtered because they can't get moved, because 50% of the food industry is shut down, the processing part, right, where the food has to get moved to another facility, get processed so it can move somewhere else. And that also being said, it's led into fast food. No one's going out to eat and things like that. And uh, so people are starting to dump milk out. People are starting to do all this stuff. And we were just kind of hanging around talking about that. And I was watching them. I was just sitting there just watching them. They were hanging a dead man and tightening up their barbed wire and putting in their staples and all that stuff, and just chatting about it. And he was kind of telling me the stronger technique for hanging a dead man, and the reason why, because it's for cow and not for horses. And I found all that to be interesting. So I was learning something. You always need to be learning something. If you got just a few minutes of your time, and if you just pay attention to someone else long enough, you can learn something. That's what I like doing. If someone's doing something I've never done before, I like sitting there and learning from someone very experienced in that field, and shows me that. So I sit there listening to that. And I also sit there with amazement, and I kept looking at it. I was like, I said, I sit here and I'm hanging a beam, or I'm driving nails, and I'm running screws, or something else on the other end has to be held up. And I look like I'm playing a game of naked twister when I'm just trying to hold one thing in one hand and something else in the other, and I'm using my foot to hold something else, and my head's holding something, just so I can get one screw or nail in, or tighten something up. And I either slip, fall, bust my head, and get back up and start doing it all over again. And I was telling him that, as this to seeing all of you guys working together, because they're a family, right? They're all just working together and doing their thing. I said, I think it's great. You guys are just chipper, whistling, and getting it done. And you've got one guy on one end holding something, the other person's on the other end driving nails, and it's just. I said I would just give anything, sitting out there sometimes when I to share a spot where I'm like, man, can you come over here and just hold this? Just hold this board up for me. And because Sippy's not always able to be around.
I thought you were saying I'm always holding my cup of coffee.
I will, which when she does have, she does show up sometimes. She does show up sometimes when I'm working on something and I slip and fall or bust my finger or got blood gushing out and you'll be fine. You're all right. And she'll just drink her coffee. She'll just start drinking her coffee. You'll be you. Are you okay? You look like you got that. Yeah. You've got that. You can
How many
handle
fingers? That. Okay, you're good.
All right, you're good. You'll be okay. But I was just complimenting them because they're all working together, and I thought that was great. And they're on the same paycheck. You know what I mean? That's their thing. They've got to move this because this is where the money comes from. It has nothing to do with because it's mama, daddy, brother, and I think that's great seeing all you guys doing that, helping each other like that. Because I give anything in some situations just to have somebody hold the other end of something while I'm driving a nail or something, right?
Yeah, and kids aren't quite tall enough.
So you can't do stuff alone. You can't. You can. It sucks. I'm telling you. All this stuff, I mean, because I literally finished the chicken coop, turn right around after doing all that craziness, right? No one cares. No one's concerned. But I do all that craziness, right? Then I turn around. Well, all right. I'm headed to the garden, right? So I'm headed over to the garden. I've got to start tilling again because finally the cold weather is going to start dying down, and I've got to start planting the corn and everything else. Just to kind of give you some insight and what would be next is that, and moving into that. So, and then there's that, right? So there's no other person that's going to go over there to the garden while BA's over here working on the chicken coop. Nobody.
Chickens didn't freeze.
They're fine. There's no other person that could be doing this job while I'm over here doing the other job, and it's kind of like cutting the grass, mowing the North 40 and all this other stuff. Cutting all that grass. It takes me on average about 8 hours total to cut all the grass, and that's 8 hours of grass cutting. The average folks that cut grass is probably 30 minutes to an hour. I used to cut grass with just a regular push mower. Now it's changed. So, but to mow grass for me, it's like 8 hours. But there's no one to go mow grass while I do this, and the other thing. My point of that is having a mag ain't a bad idea, and having a group ain't a bad idea. And if you've got family that work with you, or you hate their guts, it'd be good to have those people around, especially when things get really bad. And something you really need to think about is that level of when. When is it going to be time? You're in the middle of a pandemic. Think about the pandemic, right? Think about the pandemic thing going on. Here's the thing. If you're in a serious pandemic and things do really start to spiral out of control and there's economic collapse and all this other stuff, right? Okay, so if you do calculate all those things that I've talked about before into that, and then people are starving, going hungry, and then crime and your assaults go up and all that stuff, and then the law enforcement's forced to lay it on folks even harder than they did before, and then they literally instead of just cracking down on the individuals causing the chaos, they just crack down on everybody. And it gets to that point where it's just so freaking crazy. And then if your state is on a lockdown, if your location's on a lockdown and you do have a group, right? You can't just join up with your group because your area's on lockdown. Well, Bob can't leave. Billy's stuck at home because they say they're on a quarantine order. They can't get out, and so the folks can't join together as a mag because of all this stuff that's taking place, right?
Right.
And but it gets me thinking that the other thing is those kids working together with folks and sharing environments with others like homesteads and stuff like that is actually a good thing, and it is a good example. What?
What
Huh?
website did you buy the 22 LR reloading?
Oh, uh, it's literally called 22reloader.com.
Okay.
It's like it's funny. You could just type in, but now there's one that's fake. I think there's one website. I think it's fake. Not sure. One's kind of
Hey.
questionable,
Hey, Kurt.
but I would call
Hey,
them or
Coco.
something first to just verify that it's because one of them looked like it was a fake website.
Which one did you use?
22reloader.com, and
Okay.
it's because one was into like plinking or something, plinking.com or something. I don't know. Anyway, um, but sharing with others isn't a bad idea, but you got to keep in mind that all the bad stuff that goes with it, that comes with the uh, folks that will eventually, because it's called the Lucifer effect. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but
I'm not.
it's called the Lucifer effect, and it's when things start to get so grim when you're rationing food, when it's just gotten that bad. You know what I mean? It's gotten really bad. The Lucifer effect, and people, it really starts to get under a lot of others' skin, and they transform into evil folks, and those evil folks take it out on everyone else, or they'll take it out on the uh, huh?
Yeah, the kids are very rowdy.
Yeah.
Anyways, you're saying.
Uh, but in those times when the Lucifer effect kicks in and they start to take it out on the weak, or uh, they uh, they if it's because you start getting into
They get
the
into the
rule
selfish
the
and
rule
self-centered.
the rule of law is gone, and no one's coming to the boondocks to come save you, and
Kill or be killed.
you're sharing a lot with three other families, okay, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and uh, the weaker of the crew gets picked on because they just pick on them because they're either bored or the Lucifer effect kicks in, and they feel like tormenting somebody else. So you've got to keep that in mind too. Uh, stuff like that can happen. Okay, uh, you got to keep that in mind when you. Good night, Daniel. You got to keep that stuff in mind when you do that sort of thing. And what was the other thing? Uh, Building up. And here's the other thing. I think I wrote it down in my notes. I wrote it down over here. Hang on, let me check real quick. Should make sure before I go too far what I wanted to talk about, because there's a lot that you can talk about. Okay. Here's
The axes.
I quoted this on Twitter today, and I've got it here. Be warned that not all threats begin with an all-out assault. Some problems begin with a knock on the door. I thought that was a good quote. All right, so the other one that I wanted to talk about real quick is, I'll get to perimeter here in a minute, but my main thing here is your um, what is it? Situational awareness, right? here's how this works. Okay, if when do you think you as a human being change? When you heighten your alertness, when you're in a different environment, a strange environment,
You're taken out of your comfort zone.
when you're taken out of your comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about picture, if you will, a dark alley? Picture, if you will, you're by yourself, you're alone, and you walk to a empty, deserted parking lot. Okay, if you picture an empty, deserted parking lot, lights are flickering or lights are very dim, it's very low lit. I mean, you start to seek out where the lights are. You start to really look around, and you have that heightened sense of awareness when you're in those situations, when it's everything just goes dark, right? Now, uh, you have to you have to think about when uh, if things do get chaotic anywhere. Okay, it doesn't matter what the situation is. If you're having rolling brownouts and there's no jobs and all this stuff, right? If you're if people get desperate and all this stuff starts to take place, then you're you're going to gain a sense of awareness then, because normal situations, anything that can put you in danger, you're probably not going to take any chances with confrontation. And in the beginning of any situation, and that at the beginning of a pandemic, for example, people at some point, even though there's social distancing, there's still public conversations. There's still folks hanging out. It's not, it's not the complete and total end of public conversations. But you'll start taking, as you see the crime goes up and all this stuff, you'll have that sense of awareness where you probably shouldn't go anywhere. So you want to avoid confrontation. You'll get it automatically. You'll start to see it. Some stuff comes naturally to some folks, and some it doesn't. They'll have to learn the hard way, right? Most folks don't learn it until it happens to them. But before it gets to that stage, you really want to you really want to. This goes back to perimeter. You really want to walk the perimeter. I know when I say perimeter, just walk around your property, walk around where you live, your home, your lair, your casa, right? You have to look around and get a good fixed eye view of everything going on in your area, right? Yeah, practice that OPSEC. That's good. I would that always do that. But get a good look at everything around you, right? And
Like the
um,
forest.
you need to not only look out for normal stuff, but you need to you have to put yourself in the shoes of the aggressor. You have to put yourself in the shoes of who is going to be causing your day to turn upside down. So you need to think like the attacker. So you have to go and look and visually check everything, because that goes with because I got to think about that when I was thinking about fencing, right? I'm like, here I am, stomping through the woods, checking fencing. And I was like, deadfall, deadfall, deadfall. I was like, wow, I'm going to have a lot of firewood this year, you know? And that's just me kind of doing a quick check to see what's for me. And you got to check your area. You got to see where your weaknesses are. You got to see where folks would come in at. Could they cut around? Could they go around that way? You got to know your entry points. You got to know all your entry points, the weaknesses. So it's good to stop and do that no matter where you are. And at least you will already have that checked off the list when it's time to kind of rover, you know what I mean? To kind of stay awake, to make sure no one's going to bust in and do some harm to you. Uh, Other thing, I guess that was that I wanted to talk about. I want to make sure. Uh, Yeah. There's another one. We already did no meat.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
So it says on
I
the
know.
paper.
That's what do you do with your time right now? And this kind of can
Trying to keep the
piggyback.
house from catching on fire.
This can piggyback off of
bags.
what I was saying. I thought would be a good point to make here. All right, what do you do with the rest of your time? So if you're, it's like us, and we made the compost bin out of pallets. That was just some weird stuff to do, right? It's not a big topic or anything. It's not something major to discuss, but it's an idea. It's junk and it's sitting there and we made something out of it. It's like taking scrap wood, scrap junk, and making a coop box out of it. Or, whatever. What else have I made out of junk? Do you remember anything else I've made out of junk recently? I remember I fixed a junk wheelbarrow. That was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other things along the way I've fixed and repaired. But yeah, scrap.
Thank you for that, Axis.
Hang on,
appreciate you, buddy. I caught it.
Thank you, Arm and Axis.
The dang bell.
Boom!
We keep forgetting about the bell.
It's up there somewhere.
Well, I'm too short. I don't know.
I don't know if I can reach it or
I
not.
can't reach.
How far up is it?
I don't know.
I don't see it.
Well, why'd you even say it was up there?
I thought it was up there. Did you move it?
I think all the smoke got to your brain.
I guess so. I thought it was over here.
Mm-mm.
Where was I? Oh, stuff out of junk. All right. All the scrap metal that, and all the scrap lumber, all the scrap this and that and the other thing. And it's kind of like, walking the property for deadfall. Like, I've already spotted some firewood and all this other stuff. It's just something I can collect up so when winter gets here, I don't freeze my butt off. And well, the kids like the fires too. Going and seeking out beams and poles and stuff for more fencing and trying to get what I can for but something else that I can. Here you go, creamer.
That was really weak.
No, it's not very.
Like
Fox head. Is there anything that goes bang?
the banana bread pan would do better with your lightning ferro rod thing.
I got it. There you go.
There you go.
Will that work? No, it doesn't. That doesn't work. See, you got to try stuff and figure out if it works or not. All right. Anyway, while you've got time, you gather up junk and try to make something out of it, because that goes back to if you need something, if you need to make something for use, it goes back to the bushcraft style hammock hanging devices that people come up with. Most folks would just use a couple of trees. Some folks will take 3 poles and put them across from each other, and then take another pole and have it swing into that pole. So then they've got one pole that goes straight across the top and pull all this stuff together, right? Some folks will do that versus just tying the hammock to a tree. And it's just that ingenuity. While you've got all this time where you have some spare time, you can start practicing, experimenting with some of this stuff to see what works and what doesn't work. And it goes with making those bushcraft chairs and all the other crazy stuff, right? But it's something to work on while you have a chance. What was I going to say? I know I was going to talk about the chickens real quick for folks, and it being hard work. I know a lot
What pistol are you carrying today?
of.
Good sir, isn't it your judge?
I always carry my judge. Well, unless I carry my M66.
Tis the judge today, Sir Isaac.
I usually do either the Judge or the 357 Magnum. It's either one or the other. If I'm hiking through the woods, I try to carry my Magnum because I don't know what bigger object would bother me. I'm not too. If I see a snake, it's just a snake, right? I just try to focus on the larger things that could bother me. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Trying to take down a coyote from a long distance with a Judge doesn't work out so great.
Yeah.
For me, I think the Magnum's probably better.
Probably.
Get 357. Oh, chickens, hard work. Things that are hard work. Things that are hard work. Uh, I mentioned before always needing a hand with stuff. I hate doing stuff when I'm always by myself doing it. And the thing is that chickens is another thing that we share. We share the workload on the chickens. First thing in the morning, we'll tend those things.
Well,
I usually tend them
I
every.
don't like getting up at the crack of dawn.
I get up really early, so I take care of them right away. And I think a lot of folks lose interest in the chicken race. It's not worth all the work, the labor intensity, like uh, just to get some eggs or just to get some poultry or something. It's people don't see the end result of that. It's not immediate, right?
Man with no tan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boom, 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 boom.
Appreciate you, buddy. Are we sure it's not underneath over here? Like, this is just driving me nuts.
Check the cabinet. I know there's one downstairs. So I know where it is.
I'm not going downstairs.
She's not going to quit till she figures it out.
I got something.
Don't just grab anything. What'd you do with it? I think she stacked it with the books.
Well, let's work.
It's right here.
There you go. Pot and pan. Thank you.
It's right here.
Boom. Pot and pan. Old school.
I found it. It's right there.
Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. Have we got the problem solved already?
Yes.
Okay. Back to what I was saying here. It's hard work and people don't want to do it for the reward. There's too much effort for the reward, and we're not in those times yet. But when
Yes, they are fun to watch.
dude, I said, you guys, I gotta tell you guys something because it makes me laugh. I get silly, man. I go down there and they come straight up to me and they just have that look on them, right? And they do the whole getting close, and then they turn their head and look at you. They always follow me around and look at me crazy. But they'll pop up on my leg and just sit down and just stare at me like, all right, where's that chicken scratch at? I know you're gonna give us something.
Yeah.
We know you're gonna give us something. So it's just funny to watch them. It's a trip. They all have their own personality. And you wouldn't think that with chickens. You just think, wow, they're just chickens, blah, blah, whatever, dumb birds. But they are a trip. The other day, my son, Charlie, he went and he lifted up this spot where he knew where all these worms were. He's like, man, I know where a whole bunch of worms are. I'm gonna go get them. So he comes back. He's got a whole handful.
Thank you, Moko.
Thank you, Moko. See, she's got it now. There we go. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Boom. The funny thing is, like, he comes back with this handful of worms, and we've never given these chickens worms before. And he comes up and he hands one of the chickens the worm. That chicken went and snatched that thing up like with excitement and intensity. Let me fix the camera. It's messing up again. There we go. But with excitement and intensity, man, it just like grabbed that worm, and that worm was dangling out of his mouth, and it's just running. It's just running around going crazy. it ran right into the fence, and it's like trying to go through the fence, and it turns around, goes the other way. It was like watching some kind of crazy dog race or something.
All the other chickens were running
And it's
after him.
it's like, all right, screaming eagles in the front. Oh, no, here they come. Oh, no, white shadow's coming. Here he comes. You know what I mean? It's like watching one of those horse races or something. It's just a trip to watch them when they get something and they get excited.
Yeah.
And the other ones are trying to chase them. It's like watching a crazy football game. But all of them are teaming up and chasing them down.
I didn't see it. Smell those great. I heard worms and just getting all, woo, worms. Let's talk about worms.
So me and the kids are just sitting there, just dying laughing, watching these chickens go nuts over worms. And every single time they throw another one out there, it just got 10 times more vicious. As more of them had the taste of worms, they fought over them even harder. It just got hilarious. And you can give them, I was watching another fella's channel. He was giving them grapes. Had me laughing watching those chickens go nuts over grapes.
Thank you, Christy. Happy Mother's Day.
There's someone I know, Small Block Feeling was telling me, he's like, man, I don't think he's watching right now, but he's like, man, are you really going to plant all 80 of those cherry tomatoes? I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna plant every one of them, and hopefully they all grow and they do fine, because I want to feed the chickens the cherry tomatoes just because it's cool. Because you can take because we've got deer tongue lettuce and we've got cherry tomatoes. I want to make those little chicken kebabs so that they can go out there and just peck and go crazy on them.
Thank you.
Watch them fight to the death over some cherry tomatoes. But they love stuff like that. Tomatoes and grapes and stuff. They love that stuff. So it's really cool. I think that's it for my topic. You want to talk about yours, or
you got excited. You're always worried you don't have enough topic to talk about.
Well, no,
you go straight for like almost 2 hours.
Well, I know it's kind of boring watching me strike and make fires from weird stuff and doing weird things like that, And I'm not even sure if anyone learned anything from that, But I still just went on and did that anyways. I figured I'd do that at the beginning of this, because instead of just rolling right into the doom and gloom stuff, I try to stay away from the doom stuff. I had someone comment the other day. It kind of made me smile when someone said, "Thank goodness," it's because it was about chickens, right? So I'm finally finished the coop, so I was kind of excited about it. And it's like finally something that's not fear and doom related, because he said everyone else he was subscribed to was they're talking about how you all going to die, and you're going to die twice, and you're going to choke to death, and all this stuff, and
now your cats are going to die.
Then a warhead's going to come through your window and blow you up, and all kinds of stuff. And then it's like, wow, what a sign of relief it is. What a sigh of relief it is just to. You're talking about chickens. It's like, thank you. I appreciate that. I can't always talk about, scary, crazy stuff all the time. I do like doing the sit down talk stuff, but not all the time. I can't do it. She can. We should do a video just her telling you all about something crazy.
Huh?
Come here.
What do you need to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna talk about the chickens? Hey, what's your chicken's name? Nina? That's the chicken's name?
First it was something else. It started with an E. I can't remember.
Something weird.
Yeah.
She had another weird name. What's your chicken's name?
Chocolate.
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 Her chicken's name's Chocolate.
And it was Susie.
Susie. I thought one of them was Susie.
And my other chick friend, I call it
Nuggets. Yeah.
What'd you guys name the rooster?
Megadeth.
The rooster, right?
No, Charlie named it Charles.
Prince Charles.
and
That's pretty
I'll come
funny.
check in a minute. Go on.
I don't think I have anything else left on here. And
Princess.
Do you want-
Princess Cluck.
do you want to talk a little bit about what you want to talk
Yeah.
about?
I can play with toys.
No,
All right, she's got something. She's got a little something. I don't know if you want to talk much about it, but you
Yeah,
know,
it's a
talk
little
forever.
something to talk about.
Okay.
It's kind of funny because as I'm trying to pronounce this name of this disease, I was thinking of Harry Potter waving a wand with the spell leptospirosis.
You would.
And that got me thinking.
The kids
man,
wanted to watch Harry Potter, so.
Man, what if, that was a real thing? You just waved your wand and gave somebody some disease. Gonorrhea.
You would. You would say something crazy like that.
But yeah, I was like, dang, that would really suck.
That would.
But yes, leptospirosis is what I'm going to be talking about. It's one of the most common diseases that humans can get from an animal. And the most common carriers for this thing is rats and domestic dogs. And it's in their urine.
Ew.
Yeah.
It's in their urine?
It's in the urine. And it can stay in their urine for months and months at a time.
Oh, I couldn't spell that word either.
So, I mean, most of it's in the tropical areas, including Hawaii, but I mean, it can go worldwide, of course. And then it doesn't get like diluted in streams or anything. Like if the animal pees in that stream or lake, it stays in the water, so you can get it from that. And it incubates in your body for up to 2 weeks. And signs and symptoms are headache, muscular aches, chills, and all of a sudden you get a fever abruptly. So it kind of seems like it's almost like flu-like symptoms, but it'll go away within a few days, and then sometimes it comes right back. So I think the big tall tale sign with this disease is the random fever you get towards the end. Whereas like if it's a virus, like the flu, usually you'll get the fever right along with the headache and the chills and the muscular cramps. And unfortunately, this can cause liver and kidney failure or disease where it can damage your liver and kidneys. And another fun fact, it mutated to start attacking your lungs, and they call that the new pulmonary hemorrhage syndrome. So yes, it causes your lungs to bleed.
Ooh.
And that's 50% mortality rate. So,
yeah, that's real right there.
So the treatment for that, they say, is doxycycline, which is the type of tetracycline. So filter your water, y'all. But that's like one of those things where, people, we've talked about this before, where you have your soda cans just chilling in the whatever carrier container that they're in, and the rats run around and pee on the lids and stuff, or pee on the cargo, and then you put it to your mouth, and then you get the leptospirosis.
That gets me thinking of another little topic that I was reading was, you don't get too many other preppers out there that or survivalists or whatever. You don't get too many other folks that say, because we always talk about food, and we talk about basic prepper priorities and things, and we discuss how if someone's starting out or whatever, and over time the basic individual would be okay, and I think we don't give enough credit to a few people out there when it comes to stuff like that, and how it's you'll get someone where it says you should get food, and then we don't think the long game. Every time someone slips into the non-long game, but you need to get essential medical equipment, essential medical supplies is what it is. And we
It's harder and harder to get those now because
yeah,
of this virus crap.
I was just thinking that today when because uh, I've been reading a lot of other weird books, and
Thank you, I'm Joan.
it was one of the topics and discussions was how we're steering into preparedness stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I get isn't even in a prepper guide book whatsoever. It's in random books when they talk about because I was reading something from freaking Henry Ford today and his take on being prepared. It's kind of ridiculous that so many folks over the years, and you could just catch a glimpse of someone in history talking about like, yeah, didn't you do something else? You don't do preparedness, but it's just funny to read these little blips of folks in history that have talked about things like that and how important it is to have skills and stuff and it goes into the usually what ends up taking someone out is not having the basics of medical supplies on hand, and that's usually what takes somebody out. It's not because they're going hungry, it's because they're and I think uh, another thing that I was reading about today was the people don't take for granted the effort that goes into so many things you do. And this goes back to not having any help. And if you're not sharing the workload with other people and being alone out there, how difficult
Hey,
it
Darlene.
is to, hey, brother, how difficult it is to dig your garden and all that stuff. To do that stuff, if for
Hi, Fuzzy.
example you run out of fuel, you run out of all these resources. If everything starts to disappear and you're having to do everything mechanically by hand, and this was something Sippy and I had talked about 4 days ago, just sitting here, and I said, remember back before we had a tiller, remember back before this and that and the other thing, when we did box gardens out of junk. And I had mentioned before, gather junk supplies while you can. All the wood that we used to make our box garden was out of junk. It was just someone left it on the side of the road, didn't want it. Some of the pieces came from old dressers and stuff. Nobody wanted it. Well, it's already outside. Put it to use outside. Make a
Mm-hmm.
box garden out of it. It's what can you do with the things around you? It's like the spare tires laying around. You have to you have to get in that mindset every now and then and really put your thought into it because it's going to come a time where you might actually need to know how to convert things over to other uses so that you can use them for something else. I friends with the guy at the dump now since I go there so often looking for junk. Yes, I'm that guy. Uh, I go there for resources, and it's one man's trash is another man's treasure. So I go and I look, and I remember last time I was there, he had a stack of bicycles, and I didn't want to get my kids a bunch of brand new bicycles because I'm not that guy. And I'm looking over there.
No, you're gonna buy Ellie that unicorn
I'm looking. No,
bicycle. He will buy
I
it.
was just gonna carve her one out of wood and stick it on the front,
Mm-mm.
make it look like a unicorn. All right, so I'm
Do that.
looking over and I see a stack of bikes. I'm looking at them, and the old man comes out and he's like, if you want them, you can take them. And I said, I know you kids would play with them. And I said, well, uh, I said maybe another time. I don't have my truck here with me, so I can't take them today. And I come back later on. Well, they took them. Somebody else did. And I come back again the next week, and he goes, the guy that took them, he brought them back. And I was like, why is that? And he goes, he didn't want to fix the flat tires. Uh, anyway, that's just the story of life,
And
man.
then he came out with a handmade ice cream
Ice
maker.
cream maker, yeah. He walked past us with a handmade ice cream maker, And I was like, that's a good ice cream maker. I watched it walk away. That's it. I was like looking at her. You think we should ask and clean it up and get it to working again? Because we're those people, right? We see stuff like that and we're like, can I transform that and make it good, make it nice? Because I found a lot of junk along the way that people just toss and just put a little polish, a little elbow grease on it, and it's like brand new again. And it's just that, I mean, it's like a hobby. It's fun, and it just, I don't know. It makes my day to see something that was
Yeah,
left for the
Mother's Day.
trash and transformed into something else. And I was, that falls into like making the box garden out of scrap wood that we found somewhere. And we still do that. We still grab scrap wood from all over the place. And uh, the garden door and a bunch of other stuff's made out of just scrap wood we found. So I put it to use in other places and just got to make it. I needed more wood that time because I think the cat can get in there.
Yeah.
We're going to fix that problem. No, we're not going to shoot the cat. We just need to fix the door. Uh, but digging everything mechanically. I remember digging everything mechanically. We didn't have a tiller or anything, and we did the weeding and everything by hand. And I don't, you know, this goes into the survival rate back to where
Vandal.
uh, if you need a garden, you know, for certain individuals that just you know we if you're at that point where it's like, well, okay, now there's no food, right? And but you need to grow some. And what about the waste? It goes back to plant waste and stuff. How people will throw away the stem from a head of lettuce, and all you got to do is you modify it, put it in some water, and start watching it kind of transform. It'll start to grow again. It's kind of like the carrot stems, and all that stuff. Uh, just about anything you buy in the grocery store that's in the produce section can transform into a plant. You can transform. I mean, there's literally I'm not that guy that's going to make that video, but there's literally people that already have done those videos where they transform like the tomato, and they get the tomato seeds out and let them dry out and all that stuff. Or it's just the weird stuff that folks would do, because some things are seedless, you know, you don't get that from it. But the point is that mechanically breaking the ground and all that stuff, and not having all that stuff on hand at the moment. But there's a lot of things that you can transform and reuse. So not just junk that you can find in the junkyard, but also goes into your scraps.
Happy Mother's Day.
Taking it and growing it somewhere else, regrowing it. And like potatoes. Remember when I grew potatoes straight from a potato that I got from the supermarket? I took the potato and then I had it sprouting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It took a while. You know, I set it in the sun, let it do its thing. It's growing its little vines all over the place, right?
Yep.
Little stems all over the place. And then I took that and I chopped it up in multiple pieces, and I planted it in our box garden in different places. I had potatoes, and it was a mess. I didn't know what I was doing, you know, but out of that mess, I had potatoes. You just had to you had to put in a lot of work to get them out, but I had them. They're in there, little bunched in. That I didn't put them in a big enough. I didn't know they were going to get so big, but they got huge, and they took up the whole area. That kind of goes with the remember the pumpkin incident? Charlie caused that one. Remember that? He smashed that pumpkin. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I was like, all right, son, go smash your Halloween pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
And he smashed it and was beating the crap out of everything, splattered everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just leave it there. It'll compost out and do its thing. Man, and it's like months later, what do we see? Blossoms, blooms, spiraling out of control, vines everywhere, and pumpkins, multiple pumpkins all over the place.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4.
It was multiple pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
It was one just random pumpkin smashed into the ground.
Yeah.
and it turned into this wild, crazy mess of pumpkinness.
Yep.
Anyways, but that, like I said, it just goes back to what can you do, you know what I mean, if you need it in your situations.
Mm-hmm.
Making the best of it, right?
Yep.
And it's something to do. I guess that's all I got.
Yeah.
Is that all you got?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got anything else? Yep, definitely. I guess that's all I got, folks. I don't have anything else. I want to say thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys and gals coming and hanging out with us and spending all this time with us and listening to us just ramble on, I guess. And I hope all of you. Well, I'll see him. When's next Mother's Day's
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. Mother's Day's tomorrow.
I thought it was next week.
I thought it was too. Well, I thought. Well, no, I knew it was. I knew it was coming up.
I thought it was next weekend.
Sometimes I forget what day it is.
So you guys are off the hook.
Anyway. Oh no, we'll have something tomorrow.
A lot of congratulations.
What do you want to do about that? Huh? Well, what? What do you want to say? You want me to? What?
Well, you probably need to address it.
Should I?
Well, we're gonna have to.
Some other way.
Okay.
Yeah, probably best. I guess that's all we got. She's gonna put me on the spot when we'll get sideways here. So, but yeah, we'll address that later.
Oh, yeah, I'll leave you to.
Yeah, I'll do it.
That.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a long week. Yes, I'm very tired.
It's been a long, long week.
You'll have to make that.
I got you.
Announcement.
I'll
later.
do it. Yeah, I'll do it later. Okay, that's all I got. I'm gonna get off here before she makes me say something. All right, that's it. God bless you guys.
God bless. You guys have a good.
We love you
Mother's
guys,
Day.
and have a.
Thank you for all your love and support.
Have a blessed day tomorrow.
You all are in our prayers.